PMI examination audits. Regardless of the PMI exam you're preparing for, be it the PMP, CAPM, PMI-RMP, PMI-SP, or even the PgMP, you've probably had that feeling, what if I'm audited? What on earth am I going to do? This is where we talk about what you need to do leading up to your application being sent, and if you're audited, what happens? So you've probably read the handbook for your exam. You know what the process is. You get your application ready. You put in all the information regarding your contacts in that organization where you worked on projects. That is extremely important information. Don't take this step lightly at all. Why? Because if you are audited, that information could be key in your sailing through the audit very quickly, or being held up in a bottleneck for months and months in an audit, never been able to escape. You don't want that to happen to you. So today we are going to be talking about PMI examination audits. What should you do to prevent being stuck in a vacuum in that audit process? You don't want to be stuck in that time warp. So there's things that you need to do. Congrats, you've been audited. What do you do before the audit? Like I said, absolutely important. Make sure that those contacts are not just real, but you want to make sure that those people actually are aware of what you are about to do. How do you do that? Pick up the phone, call them, use email, use all these social networks. A lot of people tell me, well, there's someone who I know from a previous project, but I just can't get hold of them. You have to do everything you can to get hold of these people before you are audited. You're like, how do I know I'm going to be audited? Of course you don't know. You're like this guy in the picture over there. He's shocked. I've been audited. What on earth? Well, make sure you get ready for it, because you don't know if you're going to be audited or not. The moment you find out you're audited, you need to put your plan into action. You need to call back those people, because you're meant to have called them previously, right? To let them know you're going to be taking an exam and you're going to use them as contacts. So the moment you get your audit, information, you're like, oh, well, okay, I've got everything lined up. You call those people back and you begin to get them ready for what is about to happen. You are going to be sending them information which they're going to complete, put into a sealed envelope, send back, and so on. And we're going to be talking about that process. Now, don't be scared. It's not a big deal. Nothing to freak out about. The only thing to freak out about is, how on earth am I going to keep myself mysticated? How am I going to keep myself in that PMI mindset? How am I going to keep myself aware of the PMBOK guide or aware of any of those standards for my exam? What should I look out for while being audited? You just have to stay on the horn, pick up the phone, call whoever your contacts are on a regular basis, and make sure that they're all over it. How long will it take? It really depends on how quickly those people can get back. We're going to be talking about Bulent, who was one of my students, took the PMP exam, did a wonderful job, was a fantastic student. Of course, he was on the ball regarding this audit thing. He didn't rule out the fact that he would be audited. He knew, well, I could be audited. So, of course, he got ready. What did Bulent do? Let's talk about Bulent's audit experience. Lessons from a PMP. He says, I had applied for the PMP credential with the PMI in August, hoping to take the exam in September. Instead of getting my PMI identification code that you need for scheduling the exam, I did receive an email along the lines of, your application has been selected for PMI's audit process. The email included a link to the PMI certification system that included information on the audit process, and very helpful, prepared audit forms for each of the project sponsors. He's talking about the contacts. Each of the project sponsors that were included in my PMI application. That's why you have to be careful. They're going to prepare these audit forms very carefully for people that you mentioned. So don't think that you can quickly flip around and change those names. You can't. The moment you put down those names and that contact information, guess what? They're going to be calling on you to send that information to those specific people. Now, even before the audit, many people don't know that you could actually be called to give additional information. Now, this is even different from the audit. You could be asked to give additional information. So you have to be very careful about those names you put on that form, because if those people don't exist or reside where you thought they did anymore, those numbers, phone numbers, email addresses are not relevant anymore, guess what? You're going to be in for it. So, strongly advise you again, get in touch with those people whose names you are putting on that application form. It is very important. So, going back to Bulent's audit experience, he gets these forms in the mail. What happens next? The audit process consists of 3 steps. Transcripts of your college degrees, proof that the PMP training course that you did actually exists, and proof of past projects that were used for the application. These 3 things are very important. Now, talking about proof of the past projects that were used for the application, you have to get in touch with your project contacts. Bulent says the last step requires that each of your past project sponsors or contacts receive a respective project audit form, approve the project information you submitted, sign and date it, and finally put the whole form, 3 pages, into a sealed envelope that is returned to you. So it is extremely important that even before you send that information to them in the event of an audit, still go ahead and send it to them anyway, because you'll really be shortening the time for you to complete this process if you sent this information to your sponsors or your contacts up front. So send them the information anyway, whether you're going to be audited or not. The question is, when are you going to send it to them? Are you going to wait till you're audited? Send it now, right? Put the information into an email. Lots of people use Excel. Use that Excel form, hit the email send button, and let them know what exactly you are putting them up to. Bulent says in his case, he was fortunate to have all 4 past project contacts ready to act and nearby, which helped speed up the process. Once he had collected all the envelopes, put them together with the 2 required documents, threw that into an envelope, shipped it to the PMI headquarters, he says no fax or email is permitted for the auditing process. This has to be done with hard copy documents. He says the whole process in his case, from notification of being audited until the notification of successful completion of the auditing process, took just 11 days. You see why I tell you don't freak out. It's possible. You can complete your PMI audit, and he took the PMP exam. You can take just about 11 days to complete the whole process. Worst case, 2 weeks. If you've really done your homework, send the information to people before you are audited, send it to them. Alright? So 11 days is not a bad turnaround. Regardless all the delay, he was finally able to take his exam, pass the exam on October 9th. So he sent this to me so I could share it with all our students. Very nice of him. Thanks so much, Bulent, sharing this with us. I really appreciate it. So I hope this will motivate you to do what Bulent did. Remember, he says he had his project sponsors nearby. They were ready to act. So it wasn't anything strange. And the moment they acted, sent the information back, it has to be mailed, sent the application in, boom, 11 days, done. What are the next steps? If you are taking any PMI exam, strongly advise you, act and act fast. Get the information regarding the projects that you would like people to sign off on in the event of an audit and email it to them. Copy it from Excel, throw it into an email, send it to them. Stay focused. Don't get all upset if you are audited. There's no point in being upset. It's a random audit. No one picked on you. So have at the back of your mind that you have to stay focused. You have to keep studying. Don't feel, well, I'm being audited, so I've got another 2 months. Don't think like that. Actually, you should handle this audit exactly like a project. It should have a start date and an end date. worst case scenario, and so on. So you might want to think about, what if I'm audited? Okay, plan B. If I'm audited, then I will take the exam on that day. Have a schedule, plan of action, and carry it out. So remember, before the audit, send your information to your sponsors. What should you do afterwards? Afterwards, you keep hitting those books, keep studying, whether it's the PMP, PgMP, what have you. Whatever the exam, keep studying all the way through. While you're being audited, you want to keep in touch with these people. You have to stay on it. Remember, they're your stakeholders. You have to manage stakeholder expectations, which involves making phone calls. So please stay on these people, call them, make sure that they're doing what they need to do. So remember, stay on them, call them daily, stay on it like a good project manager. How long will it take? It's really up to you. It could take anything from 1 month to 3 months. It really depends on you. But remember, there is a time limit. You do have a time limit to get the information back. 90 days. Within 90 days, get the information back. Otherwise, it's over. It's like you're cooking the books, isn't it? Take the exam in a timely fashion and all will be well.